Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about several commands in the Linux, like we discussed about a head command, tail command, grep command, vi command, sed command, stream editor, visual editor, cat, head, type, tail, grep. Those basic commands we completed in our previous classes. Those previous classes videos already uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if anybody missed any of the class, you can go through those videos. Session 1, session 2, session 3. The videos are available in our Ashok IT YouTube channel. Class notes is available in the website. So log in into the website. There you can access the Linux class notes. Perfect. Let's get started with our today's topic. So today's topic is file permissions in Linux. File permissions in Linux. We discussed that Linux is one of the free and open source operating system available in the market. Linux is community based OS. Multiple users can access Linux machines at a time. Linux is multi-user based operating system. Linux is multi-user based operating system. I mean to say, when we are creating one virtual machine in the AWS cloud. So this is our AWS cloud account. AWS cloud account. In this AWS cloud, we are launching one virtual machine that is called as EC2 VM. By using EC2 service, we are creating one virtual machine, EC2 VM with the Linux operating system. Now, in our team, multiple members are available. Assume that in our team, there are 3 DevOps engineers are available. Now, all those DevOps engineers want to connect with this Linux machine. So there are multiple DevOps engineers are available. Those DevOps engineers want to connect with the same Linux machine to perform some operations. So one person is working on the deployment of our application. Another person is working on some Jenkins software. There are several softwares available in this Linux VM. One person is working with logs which are created in our application, and another person is working with OS patching updates. Another person is working with some other softwares available in the Linux machine. So he is engineer 1, DevOps engineer 1, and engineer 2, engineer 2, engineer 3. Three people belongs to same team. They are connected to same machine at a time. Can multiple users access the Linux machine at a time? Is it possible? Can 3 people connect to the same Linux machine at a time? Yes or no? 3 people can connect to the same Linux machine at a time because Linux is multi-user based operating system. Multiple users can access our Linux machine at a time. Okay, when multiple people are accessing our machine at a time, what about files and directories that we have? Who can access which file? Who can modify which file? We need to manage some permissions for the files available in our Linux machine. So here, 2 people are experienced people and one person is a fresher. For fresher, I don't want to give the permission to modify the data available in the files because for our application, some configuration files are available. I don't want to give the right permission for the fresher for that configuration file, which is using by our application. For experienced people, I want to give read permission, write permission. For fresher, I want to give only read permission. So how to manage those permissions in Linux operating system? That is our today's topic. Are you guys able to understand why we need to discuss file permissions in the Linux? In the Linux operating system, everything will be represented as a file only. A directory is also a file. A normal file is also a file. Everything will be represented as a file in the Linux operating system. And the Linux is multi-user based operating system. Multiple users can access the Linux machine at a time by using that public IP and key pair. So if the key pair and public IP we have, we can also connect to that Linux machine. So there are some important files I kept in my Linux virtual machine. Now, do you want everybody to read the data and write the data? Do you want everybody to read the data and write the data to the files? Do we need to protect our files? Do we need to protect our files? We need to protect our files because some people are experienced people, some people are freshers. Okay, now here, when we are working with file permissions in the Linux, there are three types of permissions will be available. File permissions. There are three types of file permissions will be available. One is read permission, and the second one is write permission, and the third one is execute permission. So a file can have three permissions: read, write, execute. Read permission will be represented by using small r. Write permission will be represented by using small w. Execute permission will be represented by using small x. So these are three permissions that we can apply for a file in the Linux. So what is the meaning of read? You can read the data available in the file. What is the write permission? You can modify the file data. What is execute? If that file is something like a shell script file, .sh file, for example, I have downloaded some software. I want to execute it. Okay, so if you want to execute such kind of a shell script file, you need to have a execute permission. In the Windows, we are downloading .exe files and we are going to execute. In the Linux, we are going to use .sh file. We are going to execute. So if you want to install any software or if you want to execute any shell script file, so you need to have execute permission on that file. If you want to modify the data of a file, you need to have write permission. If you want to read the data from the file, you need to have read permission. So file permissions are three: read permission, write permission, execute permission. These file permissions will be represented by using these alphabets. R means read, W means write, X means execute. Okay, now how to manage the permissions for the files and directories in the Linux operating system. I'm using a Linux machine in the AWS cloud. I created one virtual machine. We can connect to that virtual machine using public IP address with the help of SSH client. I am using Mobile Extram as a SSH client. Let's go to session, remote host, public IP address, username. Default username is EC2 user. Use the private key. We used Linux PEM file. Click on OK. I'm able to connect with my Linux machine. Okay, so we practiced several commands: pwd, who am I, ls command, cat command, cp command, touch command, head command, tail command, grep command, vi command, sed command, like that. Now let us understand how to work with the permissions for the files and directories in the Linux OS. So these permissions are used to manage our files, to protect our files from unwanted accesses. Right. First, before going to work with the permissions, first understand what are the files available and what are the permissions available for those files. Can you tell me the command which is used to display the content of present working directory? Can you tell me the command which is used to display the content of present working directory? Cat command. What is the purpose of cat? pwd will display present working directory, not the content of the present working directory. I want to display content of the present working directory. What is the command? ls-l command. ls-l command we are using to display content of our present working directory. Already we have several files. Already we have several files here. Got it? Now, if you see the starting of the file, there is a hyphen and there is a D. If there is a hyphen, that means it is a normal file. If there is a D, that means it is a directory file. So whenever you use ls-l, whenever we use ls-l, can you differentiate which one is a normal file and which one is a directory file? Can you differentiate which one is a normal file and which one is a directory file? Yes. If the file is starting with the character D, then that is called as directory. Okay. If the file is starting with a hyphen, then that is normal file. And the normal files are displaying in the white color. Directories are displaying in the blue color. Normal files are displaying in the white color font. Directory files are displaying in the blue color font. Directory file starting with the character D, normal file starting with the character hyphen. Okay, now ignore the first character. We know what is the purpose of first character when we use ls-l. First character will represent type of the file. After that, we have rw hyphen, rw hyphen, rw hyphen. For every file, we have this rw hyphen, rw hyphen, r double hyphen, rwx, rwx, r hyphen x. There are some characters are available. These characters will represent existing permissions for the file. When we create a file, by default, some permissions are coming for the file. File permission is divided into three parts. File permissions are three types, and a file permission is divided into three parts. First part, it contains user permission. Second part, it contains group permission. Third part, it contains others permission. User, group, others. User permission, group permission, others permission. So here a file permission is divided into three sections. Section 1, section 2, section 3. Section 1 will be available, section 2 will be available, and section 3 will be available. Section 1, section 2, section 3. So three parts will be available in the file permission. What are those three parts? First section will represent the user permissions on the file. That means which user created that file, that user permissions will be represented as part of section. User permissions. What permissions the user is having on that file, it will be represented by section 1. Section 2 represents the group permission. We can create a group. In that group, we are going to add the users, right? User permission is the first section, group permissions is the second section, and the third one is others permission. Others means other user accounts which are available in the Linux VM. Linux is a multi-user operating system. Multiple accounts we can create. Multiple accounts we can create in the Linux machine. After file permissions completed, I will tell you how to work with the user management in the Linux, how to create a user account, how to provide the permission for that user, how to add the user to the group, how to remove the user from the group, what is a sudoers file in the Linux. Those are upcoming topics, right? So today we are talking about file permissions. A file can have read permission, write permission, execute. But that file permissions are divided into three sections. Section 1 represents users, the owner permissions of that file. So who created that file, what permissions that owner is having, that is user permission. Section 2, group permission. So we can create a group, we can add the users to a group, we can give the permissions to a group also. Next one, section 3. Section 3 represents other user permissions on that file. Okay, if you take existing permissions on this file ashokit.txt, there is a file available. If you take the first character, I'm not taking, guys. First character represents type of the file. I don't need that. From this I'm taking the permission. Now here if you see rw hyphen, rw hyphen, r double hyphen, first three characters will represent user permissions. First three characters will represent user permission. Next three characters will represent group permissions. Next three characters will represent group permissions. Next three characters will represent others permission. Are you guys able to understand the three sections we have for the file permissions? Read permission, write permission, hyphen is there. This is section 1. So a file will have permissions in three sections. First three characters represents user permissions on that file. Next three characters represents group permissions on that file. The next three characters will represent other permissions on that file. Read, write, execute. These are the three types. Those three types will be divided into three sections. First section, user. Second section, group. Third section, others permission. Now, what permissions user is having? User is having read, write, hyphen. That means there is no execute permission for the user. User can read the data from that file. User can write the data to that file. Read permission is there, write permission is there. Instead of execute, hyphen is there. Hyphen means execute is not available. First one represents read, second one represents write, third one represents execute. If you go to next three characters, RW hyphen, that means group can read the data, can write the data, but there is no execute. But when you go for section 3, others permissions available. For others, what permissions are there? R double hyphen. That means others are having only read permission. Other users cannot modify the data, cannot execute that file. If it is a shell script, they cannot execute it. Are you able to understand the permissions which are already available for the file now? First three characters represents user permissions. Read, write, execute. For example, if I write a file permission like this, rwx, rwx, rwx. What is the meaning of that? These first three characters represents user permissions on the file. These three characters will represent group permissions on the file. These three characters will represent other permissions on the file. User having rwx. That means user is having read permission, write permission, execute permission. Others are having read, write, execute, RWX. Group is also having RWX, others also having RWX. Everybody having every permission on the file when you use RWX, RWX, RWX. For example, if I remove this W, suppose for example, if I am writing like this, RWX, RWX, R-X. What is the meaning of this? RWX, RWX, R-X. What is the meaning of this? Who is having which permission? Can you tell me now? Who is having which permission? Can you tell me now? Who is having which permission? Can you tell me now? Users are having, user is having read, write, execute. User is having read, write, execute. Group is having read, write, execute. Others are having only read and execute. They don't have a write permission. Now you understand how to understand the permissions of the file. Now you understand the file permissions, existing permissions. Okay, so a file can have three permissions. A file can have three permissions. What are those three permissions? One is read permission. It will be represented as a R. Second one is write permission, represented as a W. Third one is execute permission, will represent as a X. Read, write, and execute, three permissions will be available. File permissions are divided into three sections. File permissions are divided into three sections. What are those three sections? Section 1 represents user permissions. User permissions. First three characters represents user permissions. User permissions. Section 2, character 4 to character 5. Section 2 represents group permissions. Group permissions. Characters from 4th to 6th character, 4, 5, 6. From 4th to 6th characters represents group permissions. Understood? Now we are going to use section 3. Section 3. Section 3 represents others permission. others permissions. From 7th to from 7th to 9th character, from 7th to 9th character represents others permissions. Are you guys clear with my point? User permissions, group permissions, others permissions, read, write, and execute. A file can have three types of permissions: read, write, and execute. The file permissions are divided into three sections. Section 1 represents user permissions. Section 2 represents group permissions. Section 3 represents others permissions. For example, if I give a permission like this, rwx, 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 what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this? rwx, rwx, rwx. What is the meaning of this, guys? rwx, rwx, rwx. What is the meaning of this? Who is having which permission? Who is having this? Come on. User having read, write, and execute permissions. Okay. Group is having read, write, and execute permissions. Execute permissions are available. Okay. Next one, others. Others also having what permission? Read, write, and execute permissions available for others. So are you able to interpret the file permissions based on these characters? Are you able to interpret file permissions based on these characters? Very good. Next, suppose if a file is having permission like this, r w hyphen r w hyphen r hyphen hyphen. Now can you tell me who is having which permission based on this? rw hyphen, rw hyphen, r double hyphen. Come on. What permissions are available for the user now? You need to identify. What permissions are available for the group? You need to identify. What permissions available for others? You need to identify. Come on. Based on the characters, you need to find out who is having which permissions. User is having read and write. Group is also having read and write. Others only read. Others are having only read permission. Is this clear? Is this clear? rw hyphen, user is having read and write. Group rw hyphen, only read and write. R double hyphen, others are having only read permission. Okay, now I will write one more pattern. R hyphen hyphen, r hyphen hyphen, r hyphen hyphen, r hyphen x. Now tell me who is having which permission? r double hyphen, r double hyphen, r hyphen x. Write a single message for everything and send me. Write a single message for everything and send me. Here, user having only read permission. User is having only read permission. Group also having only read permission. Others are having read and execute. Others are having read and execute permissions. Is it clear? Is it clear? R double hyphen, first three, user is having only read. R double hyphen, group is having only read. R hyphen X, only read and execute available. Nobody is having write permission on the file. Is there anybody having a write permission on the file? Is there anybody who is having a write permission on the file? nobody is having write permission on the file. Nobody is having write permission on the file. Is this clear? Is this clear? Right. So some people may not understand what is execute. What is the meaning of execute? Installing a software, running a program, installing a software. Now, how you will install a software? Suppose you want to install a software, you will download a exe file and you will run that, right? Simple example, tomorrow in the DevOps, we are going to use Git. So what I will do to work with Git, download Git, downloads. I will go here, I will download Git for Windows, 64-bit for Windows. What happened now? I downloaded a .exe file. If I want to install this Git, what should I do? Should I install this software by using .exe? Yes. How to do this? I will double click on this file. I will double click on this file. Then what is happening? It is executing. This is called execute permission. So if you are running a software, if you are running a .exe file, that means you are executing a software. Okay. Understand my point? What is execute? So in the Windows, you are downloading a file, you are double clicking on that and you are executing. You are able to install it. That means you have a execute permission. You are able to install the .exe file. Similarly, in the Windows, how we will install a software? Shell script files will be available. SH files will be available. So if you want to run the SH file, you need to have a execute permission. In the shell script, we are going to understand that. In the shell script, we are going to write the SH files. If I want to run the SH file, I need to have a execute permission. If I want to work with that, I need to use the execute permission. Are you guys able to understand? Very good. Now, let me give another pattern. Identify. Suppose now I am giving a different pattern. R, X, R, X, hyphen X. Now, can you tell me who is having which permissions on this pattern? I want you to tell me who is having which permissions on this pattern. Who is having which permissions on this pattern? People are confusing with the iPhones. Observe carefully. It is a tricky. It is a trap. It is a trap. Observe properly. Observe properly. It is a trap question. Still people are giving wrong answers. Still people are giving the wrong answer. Now here, it is a normal file, guys. It is a normal file. First character, do we need to consider? Do we need to consider the first character? No. So what permissions the user is having? User is having read and execute. What permission the group is having? What permission the group is having? Group is having read and execute. Okay. What permission others are having? Others are having only execute. So you should not consider the first character. First character represents the type of the file. First character represents the type of the file. Got my point? Okay, now I will give one more pattern. D W hyphen 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 X. Yeah. Now tell me. It is a normal file or it is a directory file? It is a directory file. So do you need to consider the first character? No. Now tell me, who is having which permissions on this file? What permissions that user is having? What permission group is having? And what permission others are having? What permission others are having? User is having only write. User is having only write. Group is having only execute. Others, no permission. No permission. They can't read, they can't write, they can't execute. There is no permission for others. So I hope you understood file permissions now. In the Linux is a multi-user operating system. Multiple users can talk to single Linux machine at a time. So when multiple users are connecting to the same Linux machine, we need to protect our files for unwanted modifications. Okay, so for that we are going to manage those permissions here. We are going to manage those permissions here. For that we are going to use read, write, execute. Every file will have 3 permissions: read, write, and execute permissions. So the file permissions are divided into 3 sections here. File permissions are divided into 3 sections here. User permissions are available, and group permissions are available, and execute permissions are available. Execute permissions are available. Good. So we are able to understand the existing permissions. Now, guys, take a screenshot. Take a screenshot in your mobile. Read, write, execute 3 sections: user permissions, group permissions, and other permissions. Take a screenshot of this image. Take a screenshot of this image. Okay. Now, next thing is how to change the permissions. We are able to understand the patterns. So if you see any file now, you can understand what permissions that file is having. But now, how to modify those permissions? How to add a permission? How to remove a permission? So modifying file permissions. Modifying file permissions. Modifying file permissions. To modify the file permissions, there is a command called chmod command. Using chmod command, we can change file permissions. We are able to understand existing permissions, but how to modify the permission, how to add the permission, how to remove the permission, how to add a permission for the user, how to add the permission for the group, how to add the permission for the others. For that, we are going to use one command called chmod command. Using chmod command, we can change file permissions. Using chmod, we can add and remove permissions. We can add and remove permissions. Now, see here, there is a file called ashokit.txt. There is a file called ashokit.txt. Here, what permission user is having for this file? Only read and write is available for the user. I want to add execute permission for the user. Can you observe the file permission for Ashok IT now? Can you tell me who is having what permission? on the ashokit.txt file? Who is having what permission on the ashokit.txt file? Can you tell me now? Come on, guys. You see, ashokit.txt file is available. Who is having what permissions on that file? User is having read write. Group is also having read write. Group is also having read write. Others are having only read. Now, I want to add execute permission for the user on the ashokit.txt. I want to add execute permission for the user. Okay, chmod command. Observe this. I'm using chmod for user. I want to add execute. So what is the command I'm using? Chmod u plus x ashokit.txt. For which file, which permission you want to add, to whom you want to add, you need to specify that in the command. chmod u plus x ashokit.txt. chmod is the command which is used to change file permissions in Linux. Using chmod command, we can change file permissions in Linux OS. Using this command, we can add the permission and we can remove the permission. U plus X. What is the meaning of U plus X? Adding execute permission for the user on ashokit.txt. Okay, done. Now let us see here. ls-l. Now can you see for the ashokit.txt, user is having the execute permission also. The user is having the execute permission also. rwx. Can you see that? So what I have done, I have added execute permission for the user. U plus X means add the execute permission for the user. If I give U minus X, guys, if I give U minus X, क्या होगा? Remove. If I give U minus X, what happened? ls-l. Is that permission gone? Is that permission gone? So U plus X means add the execute permission for the user. Right? U minus X means remove the execute permission for the user. Are you able to understand? Add execute permission, add execute permission for the user. Okay, so what is the meaning of that? chmod u plus x ashokit.txt. So I am adding execute permission for the user on ashokit.txt. Remove execute permission from the user. Remove execute permission for the user. What is the command to remove the execute permission? chmod u minus x file name. That is my file name. Now I want to add execute permission for the group. ls-l ashokit.txt is available. I want to add execute permission for the group. Can you tell me the command now? Can you tell me the command now? Guys, tell me the command now. I want to add execute permission for the group on the ashokit.txt. So what we can do? chmod for the group I want to add execute permission. G plus X ashokit.txt. ls-l. Now can you see group is having a execute permission? Group is having a execute permission. Okay, add execute permission for the group. Add execute permission for the group. Okay, what we can do? chmod g plus x ashokit.txt. G plus x ashokit.txt. That means for the group I have added execute permission. What is group? That we will understand, guys. Set of users is called as one group. Currently I connected with EC2 user. So tomorrow in my Linux machine, multiple users will be available. Multiple user accounts will be available. All the user accounts I will add to one group. Instead of giving a permission to the particular user, I will add all the Linux machine users to one group. I will give the permissions to a group. I will give the permissions to a group. You got my point? You got my point? Okay. Next one. Next one. Add write permission for the user. Can you tell me how to add write permission for user? Add write permission for user. How to add the write permission for the user? chmod u plus w. chmod u plus w ashokit.txt. Adding write permission for the user. Remove write permission for the group. Remove write permission for the group. Remove write permission for the group. How to remove the write permission for the group now? chmod g minus w ashokit.txt. Now you understood how to add a permission, how to remove the permission, how to add a permission and how to remove the permission. Very good. Next, let us see here. Let us see here ls-l. Now let us take a file called ashokit.txt. Group is having all three. Now I want to keep only read permission for the group. There are three permissions available for the group. rwx is available for the group. I want to keep only read permission for the group. I want to remove write and execute permission for the group. Are you guys getting my point? I want to remove two permissions at a time. I want to remove two permissions at a time. Remove write permission and execute permission for the group. chmod g minus wx ashokit.txt ls-l. Now can you see only write permission available for the group? Can we remove multiple permissions at a time? Can we add multiple permissions at a time? Okay. Remove read and write permission from the group. Remove write and execute permission from the group. Remove write and execute permission from the permissions for the group. Remove write and execute permissions for the group. What is the command? G minus wx. Okay. Now add write and execute permission for the user. Add the write and execute permission for the user. Add write and execute permission for the user. Now tell me, how can I do this? Now tell me, how can I do this? Add the write and execute permission for the user. So what is the command I need to use? $chmod u plus wx file name. U plus wx file name. So with this, you got the clarity how to work with the file permissions, how to add a permission, how to use the permission. Okay, now add execute permission for others. Add execute permission for others. What we can do? How to add the execute permission for others now? chmod others means O, execute means X, O plus X, ashokit.txt. O plus X, ashokit.txt. Are you able to follow this? These are the exercises we are doing, guys. I hope now you got the clarity. What is file permission? What sections will be available in the file permission? How to understand the existing permissions? How to change the file permissions? How to change the file permissions? Which command we are using to change the permissions now? What is the command to change the permissions now? Chmod command we are going to use it. Plus is used to add the permission, minus is used to remove the permission. Okay. Plus represents adding, plus represents adding, minus represents removing. Plus represents adding, minus represents removing. You got my point? Who can change the permissions of the file? File owner. And root user will be available. File owner will be available to change these permissions. And let us see here. There is one file called players.txt. There is a file called players.txt. Can you see what permissions are available for this file now? Can we see what permissions are available for this file now? Players.txt. What permissions are available for this file now? For players.txt, what permissions are available for this? Come on. Users are having read write, group is having read write, others are having only read. Okay, now I will do one magic. Guys, observe carefully. Chmod, I am executing 777. What I am executing now? 777 I am executing. Am I giving any plus minus? No, I am giving 777. Chmod 777 players.txt. Enter. Now see that. What happened for the players file? When I use chmod 777, what happened for this file? Before this chmod command, what permissions available for the players? After this chmod 777, what permissions are available for this file? What is the meaning of 777? What is the meaning of 777? Everybody is having every permission. 7 represents RWX. So here, instead of using alphabets, you can use numeric numbers also to manage file permissions. Understand my point? We can represent file permissions using numeric numbers also. File permissions with numeric numbers. File permissions with numeric numbers. Okay, guys, 1 second. Let's wait. In future, we are going to work with DevOps tools. Why we are learning these file permissions, I will show you the proof. Okay, so there is a tool called SonarQube. There is a tool called SonarQube. So tomorrow, when we are going to work with SonarQube, I am going to execute this command, chmod command. I'm going to execute a command called chmod command. This is hardware requirements to do the sonar setup. Hardware requirements to do the sonar setup. So tomorrow in the DevOps class, I will tell you use the chmod to change the permission for the sonar. I am going to use the chmod command to change the permission for the SonarQube software file. Then you may get a question, sir, what is this chmod? What is this 775? You will get the doubt or not? You will get the doubt or not? So what I am doing to work with sonar? What I am going to do to work with sonar? Are we going to change the file permission? Are we going to change the file permission? Yes. And here I am going to use a sh command to run a shell script. I'm going to run a shell script sonar.sh. I'm going to run a shell script sonar.sh. If I want to execute this sonar file, do I need to have a execute permission? I need to have a execute permission. Here I am giving the execute permission. Here I am executing the file. So file permissions are important for the DevOps engineers because we are going to work with Linux operating system to set up our infrastructure. We are going to use Linux operating system. Understand my point? So tomorrow we are going to work with the Sonar Cube. Okay, very good. So we are going to decide owners also for the file, who can modify that file, who can control the file permissions. We will decide the owners also for the file. There is a command called chown command available to decide I want to give this file permission to only particular user. Only that particular user can access this. Then you need to go for ownership. We can change the ownership of the file. For that we are having chown command, that is called chown command, that we'll discuss later. So currently we are understanding the file permissions. Are we learning all these things for time pass? Are we learning file permissions for time pass? Chmod command and all? What we are doing? Why we are learning all these things? Why we are learning all these things? For time pass, huh? We are learning prerequisite for the DevOps. We are learning prerequisite for the DevOps. Got it? Very good. Now we can manage file permissions by using chmod command. That file permission we can represent by using numerics also. Okay, numerics also. 0 means no permission at all. 0 means no permission. Okay, 1 means execute permission, only execute. 1 means what? Only execute. 0 means no permission. 1 means only execute permission. 2 means only write permission. 2 means only write permission. Okay. 3 means execute and write. 3 means execute and write. Okay. Next one, 4 means only read permission. Only read permission. 5 means number 5. 5 represents read and execute. 5 means read and execute. 6 means read and write. 6 means read and write. 7 means all permissions, read, write and execute. 7 means read, write and execute. You can use alphabets or you can use numerics also to manage the file permissions. By using chmod, you can add the permission, you can remove the permission. You can do like this also, and you can do like this also. When I give 777, what happened? When I give 777, what happened? All permissions came for all. User having read, write, execute. Group is having read, write, execute. Others also having read, write, execute. For example, let's go for ls-l players.txt. Everybody is having all permissions on the players.txt. Now let me do chmod 17. I am giving just players.txt. chmod 7 players.txt. Okay. If I give just 17, who is getting all permissions? Who is getting all permissions? First 7 represents permissions for whom? Others. Okay. Now if I go for chmod 77 players.txt. Now ls-l I am giving 77. 77 if I give, who got it? Others got it, group got it. First 7 represents others. Second 7 represents group. Now if I give 777, players.txt, ls-l. Everybody able to get everything? Everybody able to get everything? Understood. First one represents other. Second one represent group. Third one represents user. You got my point? Triple seven means everybody is getting everything. Okay. Suppose if I give 765, now see what will happen. Chmod 765. I'm going to give players.txt. 765 players.txt. Now tell me who will have which permission. Now I am going to give this one, guys, based on these numbers. Now I am going to give chmod 765. I'm going to give 765 players.txt. Now tell me who will get which permission now. Who will get which permission now? Seven, 6, 5. This is the order. This is the order. 765 user, read, write, execute. Group RW. Others W execute. 5 means sorry, read, execute. In this order you need to understand it. 765. If I give chmod, 777 players.txt, then user RWX, group also RWX, others also RWX. Whenever we are writing multiple numbers, you need to read from this side. When I write a single 7, the first it is not going to consider. Right. So whenever you write 3 characters, it will read from this side. 3 sections if you write, it will read from this side. If you write only one number, that will give for the last others. If you give 2, group and other. If you give 3, all 3. When you give all 3, it will come from left to right. When you give 1 or 2, it will come from right to left. If you give all 3, it will come from left to right. When you give 1 or 2, it will come from right to left. You got my point? Very good. So with this, we understood what is file permission, read, write, execute. File permissions are divided into 3 sections. User permissions, group permissions, other permissions also available. Read, write, execute permissions are there. Okay. Permissions we can manage with alphabets as well as with the numeric numbers also. To modify the file permissions, we are using a command called chmod command. To add the permissions, we are using a command called chmod command. So you can use numeric numbers or you can use alphabets also. Perfect. Next one. How to work with user accounts in the Linux. How to work with user accounts in the Linux. Now, Linux is a single user operating system. Linux is a multi-user operating system, working with user accounts in Linux. Linux is a single user operating system. Linux is a multi-user operating system. Come on, guys. Linux is a single user operating system. Linux is a multi-user operating system. Linux is a multi-user operating system. Linux is a multi-user operating system. Within one Linux machine, we can create multiple user accounts. Within one Linux machine, we can create multiple user accounts. Within one Linux machine, we can create multiple user accounts. Okay, multiple users can connect to the Linux machine at a time and they can perform multitasking. Multiple users can access one Linux machine at a time and they can perform multitasking. They can perform multitasking. So here multiple users. So for this user one, I will create an account. For this user, I will create an account. For this user, I will create an account. So here multiple users can access single Linux machine at a time and they can perform multitasking. They can perform multitasking. In Linux machine, every Linux machine will have a root account. Every Linux machine will have every Linux machine, every Linux machine will have root account. Root account nothing but super user. Super user. He will have this root account will have complete permissions on the Linux. For example, I want to download one software, guys. I want to download one software. Yum install git. I'm trying to install git software in the Linux. What it is saying, you need to be root to perform this command. If you want to install any software in the Linux, you need to be a root user. So by default, root account will be available in every Linux machine. How to switch to root user? When we launch a Linux VM, when we launch a Linux VM using Amazon Linux AMI, Amazon Linux AMI, we will get EC2 user as default user account. Did I create any user in my machine? No. Suppose for example, let me exit from here. I closed this session. Now I want to connect with my Linux machine. I launched a Linux machine in the AWS cloud. How I am connecting to that machine? By default, one EC2 user account got created. SSH remote host. What is the username I'm telling? EC2-user. Did we create this account? Did we create this account? Or it is created by default? It is created by default. We connected to this machine as EC2 user. We connected to this machine using EC2 user. Now root account will be available by default and one EC2 user account also created by default. Root account will be available, EC2 user account will be available. How to switch to root account? If you use sudo su, then you will become a root user. If you use sudo su, sudo means super permission, super user, sudo su. When you use sudo su, you see the username changed to root. Earlier it is a dollar, now it is a hash. When it is a hash, that means you are a root user. You can do anything in the Linux machine. You are a administrator now. Yum install git. See here, git is installing. So if you want to install any software in the Linux, you need to be a root user. How to connect to the Linux machine as a root user? Switch to root user. How to switch to root user? Switch to root user. What is the command we will use? Sudo su. When you use sudo su, then you will become root user. You will become root user. I want to become normal user now. I want to become normal user. Exit. When I do exit from the root user, I came to my EC2 user. I came to my EC2 user. Are you now suppose I want to install Java. Can you see who am I? Currently, what is my username? EC2 user. By using this EC2 user, can I install Java in the Linux? Can I install a software in the Linux? Can I install a software in the Linux? No. So if I want to install a software, you need to become a normal user or you need to become a root user. You need to become a root user. How to become a root user? How to become a root user? How to use root account? What is the command? Sudo su. When I use sudo su, who am I? I am a root user. So if you want to install any software, if you want to perform any admin activities in the Linux machine, you should change to root user. How to change to root user? Sudo su. Sudo su is used to change to root user. Now, can I install Java from the root user account now? Yes, we can install anything you can do, anything we can do. Okay, fine. How can I switch back to, how can I log out from the root user? How can I log out from the root user? Come on, exit. How can I log out from the root user? Exit. When I do exit, I came back to my default user. What is my default user? EC2 user. EC2 user. What is my present working directory? /home/EC2 user. Guys, for every user, one home directory will be created. EC2 user is the default user. For every user account, one home directory will be created with the username. Inside the home, user account directories will be available. Currently, inside the /home, EC2 user directory available. This is the username. Now, I want to create other user accounts. I want to create the other user accounts. Create a user in the Linux. Now see here, create user in Linux. Already root user is available by default. EC2 user is created by default. When you launch a virtual machine using Amazon Linux AMI, EC2 user will be created by default. Now I want to create one user with my name. So here, create user. For that, I will use sudo. What is the meaning of sudo? What is the meaning of sudo? Super permission, root permission, root permission. Sudo means root permission. Okay. Using sudo, I will use a command called user add. I'm using create user, sudo user add. Sudo user add username. Which user account you want to create, that username you can give. Once that user got created, you can verify the details of the user. Verify user account details. Verify user account details. For that, we will use ID username. Sudo user add is the command. Now Linux is a multi-user operating system. Linux is a multi-user operating system. Within one Linux machine, we can create multiple user accounts. Multiple users can access one Linux machine, one Linux VM at a time, and they can perform multitasking, right? Every Linux machine will have root account. That is a super user. So it is nothing but sudo. Now, when we launch a Linux VM using Amazon Linux AMI, we will get EC2 user account by default. Okay. So now, how to switch to root user? You can switch to root user by using sudo su. So if you want to perform any administrator activities, then we will use this super user permission. To perform admin activities, we will use sudo permission. If you want to perform any admin activities in the Linux machine, then we need to use this sudo permission. Create a user in Linux. Create user user add command. This is admin activity. Creating the user is an admin activity. For that we need sudo user add username. After that is created, if you want to verify that user data, ID username. Now let's go here. Let's go here. Currently I'm in the EC2 user. Who am I? My username is EC2 user. Now I need to create one more user, sudo user add. I'm giving the username as Ashok. Okay. Sudo user add Ashok is created. Sudo user add Ashok is created. ID Ashok. Now see, Ashok user is created. With the name, with my username, one account is created. With my username, one group is also created. Ashok user account created. Ashok group is also created. This is my user ID. ID Ashok. Sudo user add Ashok. And similarly, sudo user add John. ID John. Now what happened? With the John, one user account is created. With the John, one group is also created. Now let us see our present working directory, home EC2 user. Let's go back to home, ls-l. Excuse me guys. Earlier in the home directory, we are having only EC2 user directory. But in the home directory, Ashok directory is available, John directory available. These are home directories of user accounts. For every user home, one directory will be created in the home directory. That is called user home directory. That means our home, our folder where we can create the files and where we can perform the operations. So Ashok user having Ashok directory as a home directory. EC2 user having EC2 user directory as a home directory. User John is having John as a home directory inside the home directory. Whenever you create one user account, for that user, one home directory will be created. Whenever you create a user, for that user, one home directory will be created. One home directory will be created. Understand my point? You understand how to create the user and how to switch to the user? Okay. There is a file called sudoers file, guys. So now if you go to this sudo vi sudo. If you go to this file, there is a sudoers file. All the user accounts we can configure inside the sudoers file. User accounts will be available, right? Root user allowed to run root any commands anywhere. Root user configured here. Root user is configured here. So I will talk more about this sudoers file in the tomorrow session. Okay. Now I configure my username Ashok. I will configure the Ashok here. I will configure the Ashok here. Okay. So you can configure your users in the sudoers file like this. Okay. Sudoers file is available. You can configure your user details in the sudoers file. So what is the sudoers file? How to check how many users are available? How to switch from EC2 user to our user? How to switch to root user? How to work with the group? How to add a user to the group? How to delete the user from the group? Those things also we need to discuss. So with this, we understood how to create one user. Okay. Similarly, how to create a group? How to create a group? Now see here, to create a group, we will use sudo group add group name. I will give the group name as a DevOps. Now one group is created. You see cat/etc/group. It is displaying all the groups which are available. EC2 user is one group. Ashok is one group. John is one group. DevOps is one group. So like this, how can we see all the groups available? /etc/group cat/etc/group. It is displaying all the groups which are available. So what is the command I am using to create a group, guys? Create a group. Create a group. What is the command I am using to create a group now? Sudo group add command. If you want to create the user add command. If you want to create the group add command, you can give group name. You can give the group name. How to add the user to a group? Add the user to a group. Add user to group. Sudo user mode command -a g add the user to the group. To which group you want to add the user? Group name and username. Group name and username. So user add command to create the user account. Group add command to create the group. -user mode -ag command add user to a group. I want to add one user to the group. For example, now let me see ID Ashok. Currently, Ashok user belongs to which group, guys? Ashok user belongs to which group now? Tell me. Ashok user belongs to which group? Ashoka group. For that user, one group is also created. Can I add this Ashok user to DevOps group? DevOps is one group of users. Can I add the Ashok user to a DevOps group? Tell me, what is the command I can use to add the Ashok user to DevOps group? What is the command I can use to add this Ashok user to DevOps group? Sudo user mode -ag. What is the name? Group name. Group name is DevOps. What is the username? Ashok. Added. Now see ID Ashok. Now can you see Ashok user account belongs to two groups. One is Ashok group is available. Another one is DevOps group is also available. Am I able to add the user to particular group now? I created one user. I created one group. I'm able to add the user to the group also. Now here to create the user, to create the group, to assign the user to a group, I am using sudo. That means it is a admin activity. That means it is a admin activity. It is a admin activity. Able to understand? I am using sudo command. What is the meaning of sudo? What is the meaning of sudo? Super user. Okay. Remove user from the group. Remove user from the group. How to remove user from the group? Ashok user added to DevOps group. I want to remove that person from that group. Here sudo g password, sudo g password -d. Here you need to give username and here you need to give group name. Sudo g password -d username and group name, so that this user will be removed from this group. Now let me show you this. How to check the user account details? ID command ID Ashok. So this user is ID Ashok is available. This user belongs to two groups now. Two groups now. I want to remove this user from that group. I want to remove this user from the group. Okay, how can I do this removal? Sudo g password -d username is Ashok, group name is DevOps. Removing user Ashok from group DevOps, it is gone. ID Ashok. Now see, earlier this Ashok ID Ashok command, when I executed, it is saying that this user belongs to two groups. One is Ashok group, another one is DevOps group. Now when I execute ID Ashok, this user belongs to only one group called Ashok group. Samjhe? How to create the users, how to create the groups, how to add the user to the group, how to remove the user from the group. Let's wait. So tomorrow we are going to work on Docker. Tomorrow we are going to work on Docker. Whenever we are going to work on the Docker setup, tomorrow when we are going to work on the Docker setup, I will tell you to add the user to Docker group. What is the command here? Can you see here? What is the command? Docker installation in the Amazon Linux. Tomorrow we are going to install Docker in the Linux. If you want to run the Docker with easy to user, you cannot do that directly. So easy to user should be added to Docker group. So what is the command I am using to add the user to a group? Every command I'm explaining, I'm going to use in the future. Every command I'm explaining, I'm going to use in the future. Don't think that we are learning these commands for time pass. I have shown you file permissions. When we are working with the Sonar, we are going to work with those permissions. I am showing you how to create the users, how to create the groups, how to add the users to the groups. When I am working with Docker, I'm going to use that. And when I'm going to work with Nexus, let me show you. Nexus will be available. Nexus software we are going to use. When I'm going to work with Nexus, we are going to work with these things. Nexus setup, Nexus setup. When I'm going to see the Nexus setup, what is this? User add Nexus. I'm going to create a Nexus user. I'm going to create a Nexus user. Now, if you want to connect to the user account without password, then we are going to configure that user in the sudoers file. We are going to configure that user in the sudoers file. Okay, now you can do that configuration here. Create a user, configure the user data in the sudoers file. Configure user account details in sudoers file. How to configure users data in the sudoers file? You need to execute a command called sudo vi sudo. What is the purpose of configuring the user account in the sudoers file? That means you can connect to that user account without using the password. You can connect to that user account without using the password if you configure that in the sudoers file. I will explain what is sudoers file. Don't worry. So currently we are able to understand how to create a user by using user add command, how to check the user details id command. Okay, how to create a group by using group add command, how to add the particular user to the group user mode command, how to remove the user from the group gpassword command that we are using. Okay, how to delete a group. I want to delete the group completely. I want to delete that group. Delete group. Delete group. How to delete a group? Sudo group del. What is the command? Group del, group name. Got it. Now you see how many groups are available. How to check it? cat/etc/group. So there is a easy to user group available. There is a Ashok group available. There is a John group available. There is a DevOps group is also available. How to delete these groups now? How to delete a DevOps group? Sudo group del, group name DevOps. Now group is deleted. Now let us check it. It is a group. Now see, do we have a DevOps group now? That got deleted. Only easy to user group is available. Ashok group is available. John group is available. Can you read these commands now? What is the purpose of these commands? What is the purpose of these commands? Can you read it? Can you see this? User add, create the user command. Create the user command. User add, user group, creating a user, seeing the user data, creating a group, adding the user to the group, remove the user from the group, delete the group. Now, so how to list down all the groups? How to see all the groups? Guys, how to see display all groups available. Display all groups. What is the command? Cat /etc/group. Display all groups. Cat /etc/group. We have done. How to display all the users available? How to display all the users available? Cat /etc/password. /etc/password is the command which will display all the user accounts, all the users available in the Linux. See here, EC2 user is available and Ashok user is available. John user is available. Let me create one more user. How to create one more user? Sudo user add Rani. Rani user is created. How to display all the users? /cat /etc password. Now see, Rani account is created. What is the home directory of the Rani? /home/Rani. What is the home directory of the John? /home/John. What is the home directory of the Ashok? /home/Ashok. Okay, how to list down all the users? Print list all the users in Linux. List all users in Linux. What is the command? What is the command we are going to use? Slash cat command /etc/password /etc/password. It is used to list all the users in the Linux. /etc/group to list all the groups in the Linux. So create the group, add the user to the group, remove the user from the group, and delete the group also. Delete the group also. Are you guys clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? Come on. Now, I want to see only last 5 users in the Linux machine. Can you tell me? I want to see only last 5 users in the Linux machine. Can you tell me the command? I want to see last 5 users in the Linux machine. Come on, guys. Last 5 users in the Linux machine. Here people are saying that I'm going fast. What fast, man? I'm typing everything, I'm executing everything, I'm repeating everything. Still you feel fast. What is the command to display only last 5 users? Tail -5/etc/password. Can we see only last 5 user accounts? Can we see only last 5 user accounts? Can I get only last 4 user accounts? Recent 4 user accounts created in the Linux? They may ask this question. Can you print out last 3 user accounts got created in the Linux machine? Can you print last 3 user accounts created in the Linux machine? Tail -4. Tail is used to read the data from the top to bottom or bottom to top. Tail is used to read the data from top to bottom or bottom to top. Bottom to top. Tail -4. What it will do when I do tail -4? Last 4 accounts it is going to give. Where the user accounts are available? User accounts are available in the /etc/password. Where the groups are available? /etc/group. Can you print last 3 groups which are created? Can you display last 3 groups which are created? Yes. Can you tell me last 3 groups which are created? What is the command? Tail -3. Whenever you use a tail, you no need to use a cat. People are writing tail -3 cat. When you need cat to print everything. When you have a tail, cat is not required now. When you use a tail, cat is not required, right? Tail -3/etc/group. Last three groups which I have created. Ashok group, John group, Rani group. When you create a user, with that username, one group also will be created. Understood? How to delete a user? Sudo user del Rani. Rani account will be deleted. Rani account will be deleted. Sudo user del John. John account will be deleted. Sudo user del Ashok. Ashok account also will be deleted. So what is the command we are using to delete a user? Delete user. What is the command? Sudo user del username. That is used to delete the user. Create a user in Linux. Create user sudo user add username. Now read the commands once again. Create user in Linux. Create user sudo user add username. Verify user account details. ID username to verify the user account we have created. List all users in Linux. scat/etc/password. Delete a user. Sudo user delete username. Display all groups. cat/etc/group. Create a group. Sudo group add and group name. Sudo user mode, which is used to add the user to a group. Remove user from the group. G password command that I am using. Delete a group. Sudo group delete group name. Sudo group delete group name. Are we able to understand how to work with file permissions and how to work with users and groups in the Linux? Are you able to understand how to work with file permissions and how to work with user accounts, how to work with groups? Come on. Are you feeling comfortable with Linux? Are you feeling comfortable with Linux now? Are you feeling comfortable with Linux now? We are learning prerequisites to work with DevOps. We are using Linux as a prerequisite to work with DevOps. Now, I have a question. Can we print all the users belongs to one group? Can we print all the, currently we are creating a user. We are seeing the user data. We are seeing all the users. We are able to delete the user. We are able to see all the groups. We are able to create the group. We are able to assign the user to group. We are able to remove user from the group. We are able to delete the group also. Now my requirement is, can you print all the users who are belongs to one group? Can you print all the users who are belongs to one group? Come on. Can you print all the users who are belongs to one group? See here. I am having groups now. How to print group /cat/etc/group. So there is a group called EC2 user group is available. There is a group called EC2 user group is available. If you want to print the users who are belongs to one group, you have a command called lid lid-g group name. What is the group I have now currently? EC2 user group is available. Okay, sudo lid-g EC2 user. Super user privileges required to execute this command sudo lid-g EC2 user. What it is doing? It is printing all the users who are belongs to EC2 user group. Print the users belongs to particular group. Print users who are belongs to particular group. Print the users who are belongs to particular group. Sudo lid-g, then you can give group name. It is going to print all the users who are belongs to particular group. Print users who are belongs to particular group. Got it? You got my point? Perfect. I will upload this class notes, guys, into the portal. So please access this class notes. Video also I will upload in the YouTube channel. So this is our Ashok IT YouTube channel. All the previous 3 classes I have uploaded. Today's class video also I will upload here. So please subscribe to this channel and click on bell icon so that you will get the updates when we post a video in the YouTube. This is our channel URL. Subscribe to this channel and click on bell icon so that you can get the notifications from our channel. When we upload a video, you will get a notification directly. Once your practice is completed, then you can stop your EC2 instance. Stop the instance. I'm stopping my EC2 instance. Instance state, stop it. Tomorrow, once again, when the class starts, I will start the instance. I will execute the commands. The moment I stop it, the SSH connection got closed from the MobiXTROM. All right. So tomorrow also we are going to work with Linux commands. So tomorrow basically we are going to work with what is sudoers file in the Linux, how to configure users in the sudoers file, how to connect to the user with password, without password, and what is find command, locate command, what is the chown command. The remaining commands we are going to learn in the tomorrow session. Once the commands got completed, then I will tell you how to install softwares in the Linux like Java, Maven, GitHub, how to install those softwares in the Linux machine. Those things I'm going to explain in the tomorrow session. Thank you. Thanks for joining. So please download the class notes from the portal and practice these commands before coming to tomorrow session. We'll continue tomorrow at same time. Thank you guys. Bye bye. Have a great day.